Well, I'm excited to be here on this edition of Automotive Fleet on the Move with Michael Ferreira, Senior Vice President, U.S. Fleet Sales for Stellantis and Pro1 Next. Thanks for joining us today, Michael.
Thank you, Chris. Appreciate it to be here. It's a lovely, glorious day here in Pontiac.
It is, and where are we right now?
Yeah, so we're here today. We had some sessions this morning to dig a little bit deeper into the product scope and some of the product information.
Yeah.
We had the different brands represented. Today is really a very special day for us.
Yeah.
In addition to launching the Pro1 Next, the value proposition for our fleet customers, we've invited them to experience the product out on the track in real life, driving the heavy duty vehicles, getting some hot laps in some of our more sporty configurations. And then also we have 18 exhibitors that are exhibiting our upfitment components for ProMaster van, light heavy duty vehicles. A key component of our success is, of course, to partner with these upfitters in terms of the requirements that our fleet customers have.
Yeah, for sure. Well, okay, let me just dive right into my questions now, and we talked about this morning, right? So Pro1 has a 30% share in fleets in Europe, right? Well, I mean, you're number 3 in the U.S. How do you plan on closing that gap, and how do you plan on closing that gap in a way that you may be differently than we'd say like 6-7 years ago?
That's a really good question, Chris, and we're trying to close that gap. We already started that process in a couple of ways. To gain market share, you have to deliver a trustworthy, reliable product in terms of satisfying customer requirements. So we are starting with introducing new models. We're going to have a mid-size truck.
Yeah, mid-size truck.
That is going to be huge. We're introducing a new ProMaster City in Q4 this year, which is a very specific market segment for us, which we haven't been in for a couple of years. As a matter of fact, no one else is in that segment in the US at the moment. And then more importantly is also using the available technology and the integration of technology into our design and upfitment process to give customers the ability to track and trace the vehicles, to configure their vehicles, to upfit their vehicles by using technology as a tool.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, really, what you're alluding to is process, I suppose, right? And really improving the process for the customer, for fleets, and for upfitters. And that kind of leads me to my next question on bold claim on 100% vehicle uptime, okay? What does that actually mean, and how are you going to address that?
Well, first and foremost, 100% vehicle uptime sounds better than 100% vehicle downtime, right?
Yes, it does.
Which is why we use the term uptime. It's a percentage we're striving for as a KPI to make sure that we can deliver a service to our customers to prevent downtime.
Yes. Yeah.
Because what you can predict, you can prevent, right?
Yeah.
So we want to use the predictive analytical data from the vehicle to perform preventative maintenance and services, to prioritize the vehicle at our dealer organization for servicing, and minimize the time, the waiting time for a service bay by maximizing the time to get parts and components to the store or to the customer for required repairs, and also tracking through metrics certain events to make sure that they don't get out of control. So 100% uptime strive and goal is only going to be achievable if you do apply those principles, which is why we want to use the vehicle DTCs, the detection trouble codes, the vehicle information to be predictive in terms of events and to be preventative in terms of making sure that we can avoid those downtime actions.
Yeah, great. Let's talk about powertrain strategy. It might be a little different than it was 2 years ago. Maybe you can couch it in the 11 new products that are coming out. What do those powertrains look like?
Yeah, so it's going to be a combination. We don't disregard EV and EV as a strategy, but there's a place for it.
Yeah.
So we want to make sure that we continue our relationship with our suppliers when it gets to the Cummins diesel engine, which is a very trustworthy and reliable powertrain.
Yep.
We want to ensure that where gas is needed for long idling times or for events where the vehicle needs to operate under different circumstances. And we also want to make sure that we are focusing on customers with specific EV requirements when it gets to emission standards or it gets to vehicle applications, especially in the last mile delivery space, to try and focus our vehicles and our models with the right powertrain to those certain conditions.
Yeah.
We also are focusing on the future. We are looking at a autonomous solution when it gets to last mile delivery.
Yeah.
Called the box on wheels.
Box on wheels.
That's already being tested in principle in Europe.
Okay.
So we want to bring that to the US as well. We do think that not just in the last mile, but in the final mile delivery process, that can play a big role. But in essence, to answer your question around our trucks, it's really a user-chooser type of option. Yep. With some advice and statistical data that can show them what is needed to reduce total cost of ownership.
Yeah, great. Well, you know, with this connectivity piece, what's on everyone's mind is AI, right? And now we're starting to have the conversation about agentic AI. And really, I think that leads into downtime, preventing downtime. But how do you see AI playing a part in fleet?
You know, it's an interesting question, but I think AI has always been around for a long, long time.
Yeah.
It's just given a different name and a different branding and a different face.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is we always had information or data. We always had algorithms. We always had machine learning.
Yeah.
It just never got together into a format that it's of meaningful value. Mm-hmm. So at Pro One Next, we've engaged with AI as a tool to bring together those components, basically based on the data and information the vehicle produces, plus our experience and our knowledge that we've gained over many, many years about driver behavior, about operating conditions, about the predictive component that is needed to send a message. What I mean by that is fleet safety is huge. If you can use AI to predict a fleet safety issue, to prevent it to be catastrophic, that in itself is a huge event.
Yeah.
People think about AI as a nice to have, as a I can get along without it type of solution. I don't think we are there anymore. We're way past that.
Right.
And we're way past it because AI in future will give us the warning signals, the solution, and the ability to be proactive in avoiding the things that can be catastrophic for fleet.
Right, okay. I mean, and that is so customer facing, like where the fleet can interact with an agentic AI. You see that playing out in Stellantis' Pro One world?
The agentic AI part is interesting because we can do certain levels of AI.
Yeah.
So we can start with the basic, which is you've got a car, it's got an issue, we'll fix it.
Yeah.
Or we can get more agentic to say, what do we need to plan for in terms of planned events by using AI down the road? So what is the best time to replace this vehicle? We know that maybe once you pass 100,000 miles, certain components will fail. Oil pumps, water pumps, there's certain events that you can prevent. What is the cost of that? Not just in the item to replace, but the time of the vehicle being down. And then using agentic AI in a more constructive manner to say, I want to replace my fleet vehicles on a shorter fleet cycle. Or I want to change my vehicle route optimization for some vehicles to run different routes to be able to keep mileage more equal and have a bulk replacement of my fleet at some stage. I want to be more agentic in terms of future model year planning and try to ascertain what technology will come in future that can give me certain cost saving initiatives. For example, fuel, gas, is a huge expense for any business. What about if I can integrate with a fuel provider, a service provider, and I can plan according to route optimization and fuel refill. The vehicle is a certain point location-wise, the fuel pump is there, we can get a cheaper price for fuel in a certain area on a certain day.
Yeah.
Those type of AI components can reduce costs significantly.
Yeah, they certainly can, right? This kind of leads to my last question too. I mean, it's funny, we keep on looking at 2030, right? 2030 is only 3.5 years away. So when I ask you, what does fleet look like in 2030? What technologies do fleet managers really need to be aware of now to plan for 2030? How do you approach that?
So we introduced Fastlane 2030
right
recently at our Investor Day.
Yeah.
We've raised more than $60 billion, of which 60% will be applied to product and service enhancement in the US.
So $60 billion, how much of that? 2/3?
60%.
60%.
Will focused on US product innovation.
Wow. Okay.
So my message to fleet managers will be the following. There's never been a better time to do business with Stellantis because of our technology insight and our integration of technology into the vehicle ecosystem, into a platform that will give you the ability to be more proactive.
Mm-hmm.
There's never been a better time to focus on the cycling of your fleet with new models coming out, the City, ProMaster City, the mid-size truck. All of these, for a replacement point of view, is going to be huge. So if you plan a fleet cycle at a certain point in time, because whatever you buy now is going to run until 2030, right?
Yes, absolutely.
On a 3 or 4 year fleet cycle.
You would think so, yeah.
And we're coming out of a 3 or 4 year fleet cycle that is ex-COVID, right? Or
yeah.
COVID, right?
Yeah.
So where vehicles were bought at astronomical prices just to get a vehicle.
Right.
So it's going to be, what is the value of this vehicle going to be in terms of time, mileage?
Yeah.
What is the better time to cycle newer technology equipped type of vehicles, including EVs?
Yep.
And also, what is the right vehicle to replace an existing vehicle with?
Yeah.
And for that reason, I do believe that our value proposition, focusing on putting the customer at the center of everything we do, putting them in the right vehicle for the purpose of the vehicle, the application it needs to fulfill, managing that vehicle in terms of preventative servicing through the predictive analytical data we will share with them, giving them the technology tools to either manage it themselves, because half of the US fleets are still self-managed, right?
Yeah,
the other half are managed through FMCs.
Yeah.
So for the self-managed fleets, stop using inertia, stop using spreadsheets, stop using nothing to manage your fleet. Come to us and we will give you the tools and the equipment that you need to manage those vehicles more proactively and save money in the process.
Perfect. Well, hey, Michael, thank you for joining me
Thank
today. And time for some hot laps.
Absolutely. Let's go.
All right.
Thank you, Chris.
Yep.